television is nothing to play with. It ain't just entertainment, all right? And I'm afraid that empire would do the masses of black people more harm than good. Yeah, right. Jay-Z had a song about 99 problems, right? 99 problems. Well, I got a number of problems with empire. Right. And I feel it's my obligation to bring these problems to your attention. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. We're all grown in here. You do what you want to do. I don't have the right to come and tell you what to do, but I am obligated to share with you what I know, so that as an intelligent person, as a human being, you might consider what I have to offer and use it if you think it is of value to you. I'm not here to change anybody's behavior. It's information that helps you do a better job of being you. So problem number one is this woman here, Miss Eileen. Danny Strong and Lee Daniels have turned over the production of Empire to this woman, right? She got her start by producing this program called The L Word, which is a groundbreaking program about lesbians, which made a whole lot of women feel it's all right to explore relationships with other women because men ain't treating me right. So I'm getting ready to allow myself to be abused by women now, all because my heart is heavy. I'm hurting. So we're being programmed to dismiss common sense, all for the sake of finding love wherever we can find it. Right? So this program helped to create an atmosphere where this was all right. Why? Because of those mirror neurons. You see women kissing and loving and hovering on each other, you're going to think, ain't nothing wrong with that. Right, yeah. The more you see it, the more comfortable you become with it, the more you say, hey, well, you know, sister girl hitting on me, I need some love too. So let's understand what's going on. And let us be clear, every word that comes out of every mouth of every character in Empire is determined by these three people. Every word. This woman is now the showrunner. The showrunner. What is a showrunner? The showrunner is the person responsible for overseeing every script, for hiring the writers, for hiring the actors, for hiring the directors, for hiring the art designers. Everything that has to do with the program has been turned over to this woman. And, who is this woman? Well, she's a lesbian. She's married to another woman who is gay. Lee Daniels, he's a homosexual. He's got a loving relationship with another man. Who is Danny Strong? He has not vocalized his sexual orientation. So you ask yourself, what's he hiding? I don't know, but be honest with you, it's his business. They can love on whoever they want to love on. I'm not here to judge them, but I'm here to identify who they are. And what you do says a lot about your character. What you do and the positions of power that you hold says something about your ability, your capacity to influence people who are easily susceptible. So we need to know who they are, we need to understand what they're doing, and we need to determine whether or not we're going to allow them to influence us or to influence our children. So, in terms of looking at what they've done, Lee Daniels and Danny Strong has stated publicly that the sole purpose of Empire is to expose homophobia and bigotry in the black community. That's their mission. Because black folk are so homophobic. Black folk are bigots. That's why you see Lucius Lyon has a gay son. And he aggresses against his gay son. That's why you see Lucius Lyon attacking his oldest son who's married to a white girl. And he disparages the white girl. So Lucius Lyon is a bigot. He's a homophobe. That was their goal. And to make black people ashamed of yourselves. That's their goal. They stated it publicly. All right? So let's understand, as we drill into the background of these people, they have also stated that Empire is autobiographical. Empire is the Lee Daniels story. All right? And so he's using his story, his background. It was Lee Daniels when he was 8 years old who dressed up in his mother's clothes. It was Lee Daniels' daddy who took him and threw him in a trash can and said he was garbage. It was Lee Daniels' daddy who used to beat him, try to beat the homosexuality out of his son. Why? Because his father was a cop in Philadelphia. So his father knew how hard it was for a black man. So you're going to be black and gay boy? No. He didn't want his son to adopt that lifestyle. So in the father's head, beating his son and throwing his son in the trash can, which is wrong, he felt this is the only way he could save his son. So Lee Daniels is scarred emotionally. And he brings this pain, this sorrow with him everywhere he goes. And he contaminates everything he touches with this pain and sorrow because he hasn't gone to see somebody like Dr. Newton. He hasn't gone to see somebody like Dr. Welsing, who could talk him through his problems and at least help him come to peace so that he won't project his problems onto 17 million people every week. That's the danger. That's the danger. So we've seen this scene at least a half dozen times in Empire. You see it over and over and over again. And what happened at the end of Empire? What happened at the end of Empire? What happened at the end of Empire? The son, who is a homosexual, becomes the heir to the throne. So it's like creating this marvelous fairy tale ending for homosexuals. Even though your father hates you, even though people disparage you, you can still rise to the top. So he's fulfilling his mission to make his people feel good. I understand that. But that feel-good feeling is coming at the expense of at least 16.5 million people. And we got to ask the question, is 500,000 worth more than 16.5 million? And we got to make some decisions. So that brings me to problem number 2. Problem number 2 is that Lee Daniels has no problem at all talking about homophobia in the black community, but he refuses to talk about racism in Hollywood. Now, I know black folk who are homosexuals, and they tell me that white homosexuals are just as racist as white heterosexuals. They catch hell despite being homosexual. Black lesbians catch hell despite being a lesbian from other lesbians, because of racism. So if you can't deal with racism, how are you going to deal with all these other isms? So if you don't understand the nature of racism, how it manifests itself, right, in every aspect of life, then everything else that you think you understand will only confuse your ignorant behind. So you need to read, you need to study, you need to understand the nature of the world in which we live and how sexual orientation has been used as a tool to divide and conquer. I'm going to get to that a little bit later. But as you all know, Lee Daniels has a feud with your homegirl, Monique, right? Right? Made her a star in Precious. She won an Oscar in Precious, but he has blackballed her, according to Monique, because she wouldn't play the game. Right? So Lee Daniels said Monique was making unreasonable demands, and this is where reverse racism comes in. So Monique is now accused as being a reverse racist. What power does this sister have? None whatsoever. But this Negro says she's being a reverse racist. He went on to say that he doesn't like calling the race card. He doesn't believe in the race card. So if that makes me a sellout, then I'm a sellout. This is called show business, and I'm in here for the business. That's his mindset. That's the mindset of the man that is behind Empire. So he doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about your problems. He's interested in his agenda. Last time I checked, that's called selfishness.
Yes.
Huh?
Right. Yes. That's right.
That's selfishness. So, the other thing about Lee Daniels, and for those of you all who saw my Precious lecture, I kind of broke down Lee Daniels' sickness. He is probably one of the most dangerous Negroes in America, and we need to know him. Lee Daniels, I had a friend of mine in Hollywood who has seen the script. You know, originally Lee Daniels was supposed to direct Selma. And a friend of mine in Hollywood had read the script and said, Tony, in this script, Lee Daniels has Martin Luther King has a scene in the movie where Martin Luther King is sitting on the toilet taking a crap, talking to his lieutenants. Martin Luther King is portrayed with all these whores and prostitutes going from woman to women to women. You know, if this movie gets made, it's going to destroy the image of Martin Luther King. So on the basis of that conversation, I called my people in Selma. I got some folk in Selma. I said, look, Lee Daniels is going to be coming down there with his production crew. You all need to make sure that he does not make that movie. So everywhere he went, they dogged him. They hounded him. They made him so uncomfortable that he decided, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do The Butler instead. Right? And so Ava DuVernay picked up the mantle and directed Selma and did a decent job. She did a decent job. At least she didn't make the mistakes, the intentional mistakes that Lee Daniels was going to make. And you all know that aside from the best song, here we go with that best song thing again at the Oscars. And there's a reason why Glory won the Oscar for best song. What's the first line in Glory? What's the first line in Glory? What's the first line in Glory? Y'all know that song. One day when the glory comes. One day. It ain't today. It's some point in time in the future. Far down the road. So as long as we are dreaming, as long as we are thinking about overcoming someday, we're not focused on right now. We're not focused on today. So folk want to separate us from being conscious in the moment, what's happening right now, and focus on far, far away so that they can continue running their game, right? So one of the reasons why Selma was locked out of the Oscars was because at the New York premiere of the movie, the actors and the director all wore I Can't Breathe t-shirts. And they engaged in the spirit of Selma, the spirit of protest, speaking out against injustice. This issue offended some members of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. And one person spoke off the record. And this is what they said. I'm supposed to vote for this just because it had black people in it? He said having the cast show up in t-shirts saying I can't breathe was offensive. This is a white person, right? Wearing this is offensive to him. Why? Because he doesn't believe what you believe. He doesn't feel what you feel. He said, do they want to be known for making the best movie of the year or for stirring up crap? That was their opinion. That's how they responded to this protest. It ain't about respecting you as a black person. It ain't about identifying with your struggles and the pain that we have gone through as a people. It ain't about addressing racism. It's about making white folk comfortable. And the more of us who forget about what they've done to us and try to be like them, the happier they are. That's what this whole thing is all about. That's what this whole thing is all about. And we need to be clear. So Lee Daniels thinks that black homophobia, not racism, is the biggest issue in Hollywood. I got a problem with that. Lee Daniels would do well to heed the words of Marcus Garvey, who said that the Negro who lives on the patronage of philanthropists is the most dangerous member of our society. Dangerous Negro because he is willing to turn back the clock of progress when his benefactors ask him to do so. So Lee Daniels has consistently demonstrated that he doesn't care about black folk. He's in it for the money. That's all that matters to him. So if that's his position, and he's entitled to his position. Thank you for letting me know. So I will make a conscious choice to never support anything you do. That's my right. That's my response to you showing me consistently who you are. That's right. That's cool. You know, Lee Daniels has adopted the children of his brother, who's a crack addict, who's a drug addict. Right? And Lee Daniels and his white lover have adopted these black twins. Lee Daniels, in an interview a number of years ago in the New York Times, mind you, Lee Daniels said regarding his children, the children of he and his lover, Lee Daniels said that they've been to more bar mitzvahs than they've been to church. He said that these black kids are living around these Upper West Side Jews. They've read Anne Frank, the Diary of Anne Frank, 100 times, and they will never read Roots. That's Lee Daniels. That's the man who's responsible for Empire. So y'all need to take this information and figure out what you're going to do about it. Every time you watch Empire, you're co-signing on Lee Daniels. All right? All right? And he letting them know it's all right. So, problem number 3. Problem number 3. Terrence Howard. I like Terrence Howard as an actor. I like him as an actor, but he's gotten in trouble. He's gotten in trouble for beating up his wife, gotten in trouble for beating up his girlfriend. He's got a reputation for being a very difficult actor to work with, so he's had some issues. You know, he was in the first Iron Man, right? But he messed up and they booted him out and brought in Don Cheadle, right? So he's now doing his thing on Empire. He's making buku money on Empire. Terrence Howard made a statement in the March 6th issue of Entertainment Weekly, a statement that really and truly troubled me. Terrence Howard said, "I'm mad that we can't say the N-word on the show." Terrence Howard said, "Why is TV showing something different from the reality of the world? Why is there a thing called censorship that stops us from hearing everyday talk? We use the N-word every day." I don't know, who is the we he talking about? I don't use it. Most folk I know, most folk that I associate with don't use it. So who is the we that he's talking about? Why can't we use it in the show? So he's pushing for that now. So don't be surprised in the next season if you hear that and other stuff. And what's Lee Daniels' position on the N-word? Well, Lee Daniels said at a conference for black broadcasters, the concept of white people loving us, really loving us, and feeling that it's fine to use the N-word, that's how Lyndon Johnson felt. He did some incredible things for us. Lyndon Johnson was good to us. So that's trying to be taken away from us right now. The ability to use the N-word is someone's trying to take that away from us right now. What us is he talking about? Huh? Ain't no us that I know. Racism is a very hard thing to explain. That's what Lee Daniels said. And Lee Daniels is rich, so he's got to know what he's talking about. He's a famous director, so he obviously knows more than I do, right? We should be listening to Lee Daniels. I want you to think for a minute about what happened to black folk who said things that white folk didn't want to hear. What happened to them? Let's think about in 1996, Michael Jackson made a song, "They Don't Care About Us." And in that song, he used the words, "Jew me and kite me." And white folks said, "Take that out your song." And he did, because those words were offensive to Jews. 1992, Ice-T wrote a song called "Cop Killer." Talked about killing cops. And the Union of Police Officers protested his record label. And what did they do? They took that song off the CD. Why? Because a certain segment of the population found him vocalizing killing cops offensive to them. And they responded because they understand the power of words. In 2007, Isaiah Washington was fired from Grey's Anatomy for calling a homosexual cast member who was in the closet the F word. Huh? And he was fired. He's banned from Hollywood. He will never work again. Why? Because he just happened to call a white homosexual the F word. Hurt his feelings. And he will never work again. In 2011, Tracy Morgan got in trouble doing a comedy routine where he joked about what he would do if he found out his son was gay. And he said to his son, "He better talk to me like a man and not in that gay voice, or I'll pull out a knife and stab the little nigger to death." That's what he said. White homosexuals heard this, and they got upset because he talked about projecting violence onto a gay person. They didn't say nothing about him being called the N-word. What offended him was he talked about attacking his gay son. So let's be clear what their priorities are. Their priorities are not our priorities. So we need to be clear about that. We need to be very clear about that. And so the lesson is, the takeaway is, we can use the N-word every day. We can sing about it. We can rap about it, as Terrence Howard suggested, because that's what we do. But the Jewish community says you can't use the words Jew me or kite me in a song because they understand the power of words. The police community says you can't sing about killing cops, even if it's just a song. You can't use the line, it's just entertainment. No, it's not just entertainment. Words have power.
That's right.
The white homosexual community says you can't use the F word in talking about one of the members of our tribe. You can't talk about, you can't joke about doing harm to a gay person. Why? Because they understand very clearly what you say goes out into the world. People hear it, and those mirror neurons say it's all right to do it. They know this stuff. And here we are still debating whether or not we should be using the N-word. Because we're the walking dead. Let's be clear. We are the walking dead. And so the essence of it, that word is one of the most hate-filled words that have ever been uttered by human beings. There's no way on earth you can make that word a positive word, a loving word, because there's too much death and pain and suffering associated with it. If you knew your history, if you understood what Dr. Ben was trying to teach us, if you understood what Malcolm was trying to teach us, if you understood what Dr. Clark was trying to teach us, if you could open up your heart, your mind, and hear their voice saying, baby, that ain't an appropriate word to use to call anybody. Wake up. Know who you are. Know what you're doing. And so the issue is, the unspoken truth is, yes, black lives matter, but the reality is white lives matter more. That's the truth. White lives matter more. And whatever white folks say is what we better do if we want to be happy and if we want to work. Problem number 4, right? I don't even have to say anything. Problem number 5. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Y'all just saw 2,000 words in 5 seconds. Problem I have, the question I have is, why are there no straight black males on Empire with redeeming values? Lucius Lyon is a multimillionaire. He's a former drug dealer. He's a rap artist, but he's also a murderer. He cheats on his fiancée. He emotionally abuses his ex-wife. He physically and verbally abuses his sons. Now, granted, he's a nice-looking man. He's a handsome brother, but he's a lying, manipulative SOB. And he is proof positive to white folk that you can take Negroes out the ghetto. No matter how much money we got, we still going to act like ghetto rats. So he reinforces that stereotype every single week. His eldest son, Andre, is an educated bourgeois Negro. He's untalented, ain't got no talent. He educated his mind, but he doesn't have any talent. You see that parallel? Black folk get an education, you ain't cool, you ain't got nothing to offer us. Huh? He acting white. And what did he do? He married a white woman. Huh? All right? He married a white woman. So, and he's crazy. He's bipolar. He flip-flops more than Mitt Romney, right? His youngest son, Hakeem,